And they did this again. We had another rematch. We had Bayley has another match with Nikki Cross, which when I heard they were going to do this, I wanted to tear my hair out. Like, oh, good, nice to know that there's no other women on the roster to challenge Bayley again. And luckily, this match was interrupted by NXT, by Shayna Baszler coming out, and all of the women that Bayley beat up on NXT this week, which we'll get to, we'll get to, because I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to talking about that. And Bayley basically got chased out of the ring by Shayna and then back into the ring by Rhea Ripley, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, and Mia Yim, who, by the way, is a stud for showing up after that ladder match on NXT, also, which we'll get to. So then we had an NXT invasion, and Shayna and Bayley fight off into the crowd, and it's just the four women left with four women from the SmackDown roster who come down to defend SmackDown, which was, let's see if I can remember, Dana Brooke. Sasha Banks stuck around. She was out with Bayley. And then you had Carmella and Nikki Cross, who stuck around from the match as well. So you had a 4-on-4 match, and then you had the four women from SmackDown. You had Nikki pin Dakota Kai, and the SmackDown women defend their turf, and the NXT gets run off like a bunch of goons. So
I thought this was okay. This is what I would have expected on TV. Like, we talked about this. Like, when this match was getting set up and happening, we were talking about who's going to win here, who's going to win at Survivor Series. And I think I said SmackDown's going to win on their brand, on their turf, like you just said. But I still think Team Raw is going to win. I'm not making my picks yet. That's next week. But I think Team Raw is ultimately going to come out on top of this. It'll be interesting to see what they do on the go-home shows to make that impression, because I just haven't been built for any of this stuff.
Here's my problem. NXT is the least known brand of these three to a casual audience, right? Yep. So if you're trying to make the casual audience excited for your match, you need to make your invaders a threat. And this is a mistake that goes all the way back to the goddamn invasion angle, and they still haven't learned the lesson. They still haven't learned this lesson that you have to make the people that are invading your show seem like a threat, and also tell the audience who they are. Like, show off why they're badasses. And here you had NXT acting like smarmy heels and then losing. That doesn't make them a threat for Survivor Series. That doesn't make them was it Arn Anderson who recently said this? In wrestling, one thing that you really miss is you've got to have a dragon killer and you have to have dragons to slay. Right? If you don't have those two things, you don't have a story. You can have a dragon slayer, you can have Roman Reigns, but you have to give him dragons to slay. Corbin isn't a dragon, he's a fop, right? He's the Ponzi guy in court. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's not a dragon. Brock Lesnar's a dragon. And how many people have been able to slay him? What, Seth? That's it.
Yeah.
And Seth has his own problems. We can talk about that another time. But if you don't make NXT the dragon to slay, then, you know, if you're wanting to portray SmackDown and Raw as the good guys here, which fine, if that's how you want to play it, but you need to make SmackDown a threat. And the first week they were a threat, and they immediately defanged that feeling of a threat by saying, oh, no, it was a depleted roster. They didn't really beat us. Right? So why are you defanging your dragon over and over and over again here? And again, this like they still didn't learn the lesson from the invasion angle, and it makes me insane. And when at least they had Dakota Kai lose here, because that's kind of her storyline now in NXT, that she hasn't been the same since she got back from injury or whatever her arc is. But at the same time, I really strongly feel that NXT should have gone over here. You have to make them look strong. And next week, if NXT doesn't go over on the go home shows, they have to win at Survivor Series. Otherwise, what is the entire point?
Exactly. It would have been all for naught.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think either of the NXT Survivor Series teams are going to win.
No, I don't think NXT. I'm trying to pick
at Survivor Series.
I'm trying to pick what match NXT is going to win at all.
Yeah.
They have to win something. They're the brand that you have going head to head with a competitor. You have to make them look engaging to your mainstream audience. This is supposed to be an advertisement for NXT on your main show.
That's the disconnect.
You want to make
hasn't
people
really put
watch
that together
the show.
Yet.
Like, why are you going to? Oh, well, they're a bunch of losers. Why am I going to go watch them? They're a bunch of heels and losers. Why am I going to want to watch NXT?
It's the best 2 hours in wrestling in the world right now. That's why you want them to go watch.
Why? But they don't know that. If I was a kid and I was watching these NXT people come in there, I might look at a couple of them and be like, that guy looks cool. That girl looks cool. But she's a heel. She's acting like a dick and she loses. Right? What? Why? Okay, well, I'm fine here watching Raw and SmackDown. I don't need to go watch NXT. Yeah, you're supposed to be driving people to NXT. That is literally the point of having NXT involved in Survivor Series, is to try and get NXT over. How is that not computing backstage? Get NXT over, because that is, you need to be like, yes, you need to be pushing SmackDown because they're in a rating slump and they had to perform well and they're your billion-dollar brand. But NXT right now is also a brand that you need to do well against the first major competitor you've had in 15 years.
I wonder if they think that by bringing NXT, it's doing the opposite of what you're describing, that they're saving SmackDown somehow by putting NXT on it, and that's their mindset.
Right, just by NXT
Instead of
being on
the opposite of what you're talking about.
But that's my point, is that's the WWE mentality, is, well, just by being on the show, it's good for you. It's good for you just to be on the show. And that is sometimes the mentality, right? Sure, you've got Apollo Crews gets to run out with all of the other geeks from catering, and it's good for him to be, at least he was on the show.
Yeah.
Which, there's merit to it. There's some people we haven't seen in months. When's the last time you saw No Way Jose?
Or Heath Slater.
Right. That guy could still be milking the "I got kids" line, but they couldn't figure out a way to get that to work. So, why actually try to make money when when you see something that's getting over? I don't know. All right, so this could be a rant that goes on for a long time, but it was something that I think could have been much better than it was. I liked seeing all the NXT women on SmackDown. I liked seeing, Rhea Ripley versus Sasha Banks was a nice little sequence. There was good stuff here, but overall, it was really frustrating to see because I think that they're going about this all wrong.